Good morning. Today, very happy to welcome Miss Bec Fordyce. She's an actress, model, and right now she's a filmmaker and also work as a makeup artist. How are you, Bec? How are you? Thank you very much for joining the live.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm doing well today. How you doing?
Yeah, I read that you were born and raised in Sydney, Australia, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So tell me first about your childhood, teenage year. How did you get interested into the arts to become a professional artist?
So I've just always naturally been drawn to entertainment. I think from the moment I could talk, I knew that I wanted to be on television and be a performer. And by the age of 5 years old, my parents had put me into some community acting classes, and then from there, they kept seeing that I kept taking it seriously and really wanted to be in that world. And by the time I was 12 years old, we were in New York City, and my parents decided that it would be a smart move for me to start looking for an agent. And they were very realistic about the industry. They said that, if this is something that I want to do, they're not going to be stage parents. They're just going to drive me to the auditions, give me the support I need. But once I get into the audition room, then that's on me. That's my responsibility. And they've always told me that, you need to get good at other things because, entertainment, especially career in film, is very inconsistent. So, they've always given me a lot of support, but they've also kept me very grounded and, given me a realistic sense of what to expect entering this world.
Great. And I see that you traveled a lot. Uh,
Mhm.
but when did you decide you would like to be or in the United States to move to New York City?
So I've always dreamt of working in the United States. Growing up in Australia, we have a lot of cross pollination of things from the United States, from England, and from Australia. And I feel that the United States, in terms of a full film industry, creates a lot of the strongest material and work. So I knew, maybe when I was like 8 or 9 years old, that somehow, some way, I would live in America. The original goal was always to move to Los Angeles, and I was preparing to, move to LA around 2007. And when that all came about, the writers' strike happened across America. And my
Yes.
teacher at the time, Sandra Lee Patterson, who trains a lot of actors to come to America, had said that if the writers go on strike, then eventually the actors will go on strike. And, being an immigrant working in America wouldn't be appealing because I want to keep the American jobs for American people. So I held off
Yes.
on that and through strange circumstances ended up in New York around 2009 and I never went home.
This is nice. And almost you are like right now, like 12 years in New York
13
or
years.
more.
Yeah.
Yes. Tell me, how did you, start to move around? Did you look for casting? Did some TV appearance? Because I've seen that during this period you did some short films and appearance in some popular television series and programs. So how did you move around in New York?
When I first came to the United States, I took an acting class in New York City. The school itself was a bit of a joke. There weren't many American people. Actually, there were no American people in my class. But while I was there, I really fell in love with New York City. And Model Mayhem back in 2009 was a big thing to find a lot of casting calls, both modeling and acting wise. And a big appealing part at the time, while I still was waiting for my paperwork to come through, was to go to photo shoots, film shoots, video, music video shoots and things like that, where I get my experience, be paid in cash. And once I got my paperwork and became, an American permanent resident, I was then able to, find representation. And there's a lot of services in the United States that, freelance actors without representation, like casting networks and Actors Access, that you can self-submit for, like indie film shoots, background work, music videos, things like that. And that was sort of, how I established myself in the United States. And, projects grow and build upon themselves. So the more you're working, the more people you meet. And, I've eventually went to the filmmaker's route, and all of those things have really kind of helped and build me as an artist in New York.
Yes. And I want to ask you, right now, 10 years or more in the United States, what do you think was your best achievement so far right now?
Um, I think probably in terms of like success was a horror comedy short that I wrote, directed, and produced called The Karening back in 2020. I didn't appear in it as an actor, but I wrote it for two of my best friends who were also incredible actors, Matt Sternberg and Lena Mary Amato. And I made a short film for $500 called The Karening, which was kind of a parody on The Wolfman, where a woman turns into a Karen, like 1930s Wolfman style, when a food delivery goes wrong. And that film had far more success than I could have ever envisioned. And we ended up winning a highly coveted award at Festival of Cinema NYC last year, and ended up getting a distribution deal through IndiePix, which is a channel on Amazon Prime. So that's probably my biggest and most proud personal success to date. And also my
Yeah,
production company, Morbid Little Girl Productions, is probably my proudest achievement.
this is great. You remember you sent me a link to view the pilot of Class Act. This is supposed
Yes.
to be like a short film or a pilot for a television or a web series.
It's a pilot. We would love to develop that into a 4 series arc, and even have the option of turning it into a feature film. So currently, A Class Act is playing on the festival circuit at the moment, and we're hoping through the awards and the success and media attraction that it has, that eventually we can find investors to help us reshoot the pilot with a higher budget and a bigger crew, and to continue telling the story of Tommy Turk and all of his students.
Yes, this is very nice. It's funny, by the way. I saw the pilot. Yes, but tell me right now about uh, becoming a director after being in the front of the camera, a writer director right now. Um, what was the most uh, or the biggest challenge you felt when you started to write or to direct others behind the camera?
So yeah, basically I'd written a class act before I wrote any of my other, little shorts that I did. I remember I wrote it right before COVID happened, and I had a table read with all of the actors that I had in mind for the roles that I'd written. And we did this wonderful table read. And then I thought, I have absolutely no clue on how to make this come to life. And Louis Cortez, who is the co-director on A Class Act, and he was also the director of photography on the last project I made, The Karening. And he gave me some advice and pointers, but I just felt I wasn't ready. I didn't know what I was doing. And when COVID hit, that was when I made my first horror short, Cut to the Chase. And, I've worked on film sets both as an actress, but also as a makeup artist. And over those years of working professionally, you start to pick up a lot of what you see on sets. So, I've learned what to do, more importantly, what not to do. And, obviously along the way, I've made my own mistakes as well. But when I made my first short, I was every single crew position. So I was the director of photography, I was the writer, director, producer, and I studied 2 scenes that were inspired for Cut to the Chase. There was a scene from Evil Dead 2 at the beginning where Ash runs through the wood, and that the camera's moved, it looks like he's being chased by evil spirits. And obviously the bathroom scene in The Shining, and I watched the shots of what they did and wrote down the ideas that I had, and I shot everything on an iPhone. We were very lucky because it was all in natural light in New Hampshire, and I got all the material and the shots that I needed, and they were sort of the ways in. And through having a friend that was an editor to give me some advice and talking to other people, I was able to make sense of things. But obviously the biggest challenge is just getting started and not really knowing where or how to start. But you just start, you just begin.
Yes. And I see in your upcoming credits you have some coming up shorts that you finished shooting.
Yeah, so
Uh, uh-huh.
I just wrapped on a project last week called The Prof, which was written and directed by Deborah Markowitz. So I was doing both a supporting role in that, and I was also the makeup artist in it. Then there's another project that I'm in pre-production with Louis called SP Mode, which is going to be a horror film. And then I am also in pre-production on another project that I've written, but I'm going to produce instead of direct, called The One Who Got Called In. And then there's a couple of other projects that I've worked on that are currently playing in the festival circuit, like Park Slope Mums. And, we're waiting to see whether people are, interested in picking those up and making something bigger of it. So that's currently, what's in the pipeline and what I've currently been working on.
Yeah, I see that you mentioned a lot of horror films. Do you like the
Yeah.
genre a lot?
I do. I'm especially fascinated with the social commentary that comes with a lot of horror
Yes.
films. A
Yeah.
lot of people just kind of see the blood and gore, but I'm really fascinated at what is being said beneath it. Particularly with the types of films that I've been a writer and director of, I love exploring the darker side of humanity and the horrors of humanity through satire. But yeah, it's just been a genre because, horror has a built-in audience. It's something that, is very easy to make, very easy to market, and very easy to sell because people are always looking for thrills. And particularly with the slasher genre, it's about the kills and how creative you can get with the kills. So it's just been something that, I've gravitated towards. I love horror, I love heavy metal, I love that kind of alternative world, and it's just something that you kind of fall into. Over the years I've met people that make those sorts of projects, and because I've worked in it a lot, that it just kind of work attracts work.
Yes. A lot of horror films we have seen, predicted, I mean, a lot of problems around the world, maybe COVID, about, breakouts and,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember as well films like An American Wolf in London,
Mm.
uh, The Howling, the first one. I love the first one,
Uh-huh.
the original. And the films, the beginnings of Wes Craven, the films he did in the 70s,
Like Last House on
uh,
the Left.
like Last House on the Left,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean they have a lot of social commentary, and I think people try to revisit these films right now, to decipher them, beside also the violence or the gore or the chilling factor,
Mm.
yeah. But I've seen you traveled a lot, and you've been in Trinidad and Tobago. This is correct?
Yeah. So it was actually through Model Mayhem. I found a casting
Really?
call where they were looking for a travel show host to go to the Caribbean. I had absolutely no idea where I was supposed to be going or what I was doing, but it was 3 weeks. Basically a paid vacation to go to the Caribbean, which turned out to be the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And I worked on this show. It had a terrible name, but I was the travel show host on this show with another American host, a Dutch host, and then a local Trinidad, model. And we were exploring the ecosystem because Trinidad and Tobago was originally part of South America, and it broke off, and basically it's got a really fascinating ecosystem where you've got, Amazon type vegetation, but then you've also got Caribbean, in the
Yes.
ocean and that type of thing. So we explored and traveled that because most of the time people associate Trinidad and Tobago with oil, but there's such diverse and lush ecosystems. So they, really wanted to explore the culture, the ecosystem, and we worked with a director and then a man by the name of Stephen Broadbridge who worked for National Geographic, and he took care of the nature component side of things. But then we also went and learned a little about carnival. We went to a costume making place by the name of Hearts, where we got to see all the costumes being made up. And because it was a holiday season, we got to practice what's known as parang, which are these holiday singers that go from door to door performing, local holiday themed music. So that was a really incredible experience. It was sort of an adventure of a lifetime because, I didn't quite know what I was walking into. And yeah, that was a really exciting part of my travels.
Yes. And right now, Beck, tell me, yeah, being like a writer, director, performer as well, I think maybe you have many ideas you would like to realize, or some kind of a dream role or a dream project. Can you share something with us about something you would like to create in the future?
Oh gosh, I haven't really thought so far, beyond what's currently existing. I'd love to I'd love to see a class act be fully realized and tell, the four
Yeah.
story arc I have in mind. But dream roles and dream projects, if it was, if the world had its way, I would love to work with David Lynch at some point. He's one of my favorite directors. I'd also love to be on an HBO series at some point. I think that they create some of the most exciting content, on television these days. So they're sort of dream projects, and eventually, I'd love to tell a feature film. And I don't know whether that would be dark comedy or horror yet. So that's something that I think once I get to work on my next project, that I'll start bringing these other ideas to life.
Yeah, speaking of HBO, I love Westworld,
Uh huh.
see it here every time it comes back. And
Hmm.
also last year or the year before, I watched Watchmen, it was a
Hmm.
one season series, but I love it, I love its concept, the way it was adapted, like a continuation of the film and the graphic novel, yeah, I love the HBO content a lot, and Amazon as well. We watch here The Boys all the time.
I hear good things about the boys.
It's very good, by the way. Once you see one or two episodes, you'd like to continue. It's a new take on superhero film. And I think it's a more realistic take. About how can power can corrupt. If some people can get superpowers. It's very similar when Superman or Batman go bad. Until some kind of influence. So, but I love how it criticizes, American media and how it influenced people.
Mm,
So I think you would love it if you try
thank
to
you,
watch
right.
a couple of episodes. Yes, Beck. Beck, I want to thank you very, very much for joining the live. I wish you all the best with your upcoming projects,
Thank you.
and I look forward to attend the premiere of your new films.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your time today, too. It was lovely to talk to you.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely day.
You too. Take care. Bye bye.